In this video, we're going to show you how to make this darling dimensional Christmas wreath pillow top. The actual assembly of the pillow top is in another video, but in this video we'll show you how to make this adorable block. Now we make our dimensional leaves by Xeroxing our pattern and putting the paper pattern on top of two pieces of fabric that are right sides together. This is 5 inches of 45 wide fabric. Salvages are together, so you only need 5 inches to do one pillow top. Then you're going to sew on the solid line, and I use a smaller stitch length that will perforate the paper and be a lot stronger, and I back stitch at the beginning and end of each little leaf side. Then you're going to cut it out on the dashed line and down the middle. Remove the paper, including all the paper in the little seams. It'll look like this. Then turn it right side out, and then press it so that all the little shapes are well defined. Then you put the two raw edges together so they're exactly together, and machine baste right on the very edge. It's going to be put in the seam, so there'll be a 1/4 inch seam. So if the basting is right on the edge, it'll be in the seam. And the better you are able to match it, the better your points on your leaves will be. Now, in order for this wreath to fit on a 20-inch pillow form, it had to be larger than what could fit on a piece of paper. And since we want it as a download, we needed to divide it up. So you'll need to tape it together, and you'll do your 2 bottom pieces, like cut one side right on the dash line. These 2 middle dash lines are where you're going to divide it, and then place it so that it exactly matches, and then tape that. And then you'll do the same with the top corners, and then tape the 2 together. And then you'll have one complete block to paper piece. Now I'm going to begin paper piecing by cutting a piece of background fabric that's bigger than this area 1. And I place it on the unprinted paper side so that, and it's right side up, so that all of area 1 is covered. Then with this side up, I'm going to machine baste this dash line in between each of the leaves, and that will locate where the leaves are placed on this side. Now, because I have this location, I'm able to stack my leaves a 1/4 inch past those lines. And I'm going to start with the leaf between area 1 and 2 and 1 and 3. Now I'm going to cut a piece of fabric big enough to cover all of area 2. And I'm going to place it right on this fabric side. It's unprinted paper side, but it's where all the fabric is placed. All the sewing is done with this side up. But I'm going to place this fabric right side down along the edge. Pin it to secure it. Then I'm going to turn it over and sew that line between area 1 and 2. And we'll show you that. Now again, I sewed it on this side so that I could see where I'm sewing, because that's where the lines are. And then when I turn it over, I need to trim the extra fabric that's in the seam, like that. Okay? And then this piece of fabric folds back and covers area 2. I've pressed this so that the seam is nice and sharp, because I'm now going to take another piece of fabric. This has been cut large enough to cover all of area 3. So I'm going to work on the seam between area 1 and 3. Now, I've placed my leaves so that they're stitched together. There's 2 stacked there, and it's a 1/4 inch past that basting. Then I'm going to place my fabric right side down along the edge so the bulk of the fabric is opposite where I'm trying to cover. Now I'll turn this over and sew that whole line trim the extra out of the seam, pull it back, and press it. Okay, then I'll repeat the same thing on these two sides opposite, because as you see, they're the same, and then I'm going to place my leaves and do long strips along this side, and we'll show you what that looks like. Now I finished the two opposite sides with diagonal seams, and I've placed the other leaves, stack of leaves, 1/4 inch past the basting on those ends. Then I've cut a piece of fabric big enough to do these strips that are all the way across. Then I've placed that fabric along the edge of the stacked leaves, which are 1/4 inch past the basting, so will this piece of fabric. The bulk of the fabric is opposite where I'm trying to cover. And I'll pin that to secure it, turn it over, sew the whole line, and then once it's sewn, I'll trim the extra out of the seam. This will fold back and cover those ends. Notice how I've pressed these open. There's a little space between them because I'm going to show you how we'll put a little berry there. Very fun to do. We'll do this side, and then we'll be back to show you the rest. Now I'm using an IKEA pillow form. It says it's 20 inches by 20 inches, but it actually measures 19 when it's open. It goes along with a more modern, softer pillow, and the opening that we need for our pillow top will also be the 19, so you make it exact, and it's square. So on this pillow top, the block we made was 11 inches, plus it has the 1/4 inch seam. So I need to add, I need this to be 3.5 inches finished. So I'm going to cut 4-inch squares, strips, to allow for the seam allowance here and the seam allowance on the outside. However, on the zipper side, this needs to be, instead of 1/4 inch more, 1/2 inch more for the turn under for the zipper. So 4 inches, 4 inches, 4.25. And then of course when you're sewing it on, you'll need to cut this strip longer to match. Okay, and then we'll have the perfect size. Now I'll show you this fun technique in making these dimensional berries that really add a lot to this pattern. And notice how when we left a space, that helped the leaves to point to, so you could see the points, which is a really good design feature. So in your pattern is the circle, and you can cut them out. Just stack a paper circle on top of several folds of fabric, and then just cut them all out at once. That shouldn't take you very long. Then with a double thread, long, you want it pretty long, because we're going to actually use the same thread for attaching it to the quilt. You want to hand baste around. Now usually when I'm gathering something, I have larger stitches, but on this, since it's such a big berry, go ahead and do smaller stitches. It's fine. It will pull in the sides, so you won't have big folds. Then what you're going to do is take some stuffing and crunch it up, and the trick on these berries is to stuff them as absolutely full as you can, because that's what's going to round out the sides so the wrinkles don't show. Poke it in, gather it, pull it just as tight as you can. Kind of in the shadow, aren't I? Sorry about that. And then once you get it closed, take your thread and needle and go back and forth till it's really, really secure and closed. Like I can just keep going until it's absolutely closed. And I like pulling it in all the way around so that it's a circle. Sometimes if you just pull it like on one side, it won't be a circle. So you kind of need to pull it in from all the different sides, and then it rounds out. Okay, now what you want to do is put that open side next to the quilt top and squash it down like that. And then right where the fabric meets is where you want to sew it. And you're just going to do a little running stitch catching both sides, the berry and the quilt top, as tiny as you can. I hope you can see that. And all the way around. And when you squashed it down, it made it so that your stitches are out a little bit, but the berry still mounds around. Okay, so there's still a crown here that will hide any stitches, but if your stitches are tiny, they're not going to show anyway. And just go all the way around, and they just look so cute. I love them because they, if you get them really stuffed, then they just look perfect. So, and then I'll go down to the back and tie a knot. And that just adds such a design feature to this quilt top, pillow top. The other thing you can do on this pillow top is to, when you added these outside pieces, you could make those a contrast Christmas fabric. I like the wreath kind of here in the middle. I didn't bring the wreath out to the side because the pillow top crowns, and so you don't see these sides as much, and this is more right on the crown of the pillow top. So we'll finish this and we'll show you how to put it into a pillow top. That will be in another video, but I think you'll find it really helpful because you don't have to buy a million pillow forms. It has a zipper, pull it off, and you don't have to store all of that. You just store your pillow top to bring it out for the different seasons. And we are going to do several beautiful designs for your pillows, seasonal, for children, and holidays, different colors. And you're just going to have a lot of fun with this. And I hope you enjoyed this.